So, this is for me just a little wake-up call. Sometimes we have to look a little bit into the future.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Justin, what is your future? Yeah. Now you will show some film that will not exist in 5 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you know what I will do? I'll go out play golf.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you have first of all, a good team.
Great team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you will show something new.
Yeah.
Can I get just a little sneak peek before all the other guys?
Well, I think one thing. Hi everyone, I'm Justin Pate from the Rap Institute. One thing our slogan is never stop learning. So kind of to what Ole's point is the industry changing for sure? Like is PPF becoming more popular? Should you know how to do paint protection film style installs? For sure. Yeah. As an installer today, you should be very flexible. And will the material change in 5 years? For sure. Does that bother me? No, because we have a never stop learning mentality.
And you want to know it.
We want to know it, but we always want to adapt and change. And I think that's one of the great things about being in this industry is you can always adapt and change if you have the right mentality. And then if you do, rapping still stays what it is.
Open-minded.
Open-minded, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Justin, Rainer, Rainer, hey, we have to present the young man from Munich, where the new Rap Institute Europe is.
Yep, absolutely.
Based. You will show the new
TWI Rap Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You will pronounce it. Justin, Rainer, please show us and give them a big applause, please.
Cool. Let's get to it. Awesome. So, hi everyone. I'm Justin Pate, as I said, from the Rap Institute, and I'll be joined in a little bit by Rainer Lawrence. He's my partner in Europe and a great trainer and really good in terms of really understanding the properties of not only rap film, but pretty much anything. That popcorn machine yesterday was broken, and Rainer fixed it. That is a multi-talented man. Super cool, right? Marcos is very happy about that. So, we all saw The Matrix. How many people saw the Matrix movie? So today, the Matrix for me is Rainer and I came up with a technique and a way of seeing the rapping process, which is different, which we call it the Rap Matrix because it's just like the movie. Like in the movie, they all sensed that the Matrix is there, but they didn't know it. And then all of a sudden, Neo took the red pill or the blue pill, and he decided to go down the rabbit hole. And what did he start to see is the Matrix. He started to see a different way. So Rainer and I have been playing with this technique now for 4 or 5 months now, really dialing it in. Rainer's kind of been chewing on it for quite some time, a couple of years.
For 4 years, 5 years, I would say.
And then, so we finally came up with a good story that we're debuting here at FESPA, which I'm super excited about. So to do that, what I'd like to do is go back in time. In 2016, I did demos here, and I actually did a demo that now has over 6 million views, which is cool, where I wrapped a hood. So I'd actually like to do that again, and we could just kind of pull off the liner, and I'll talk about the technique I used back then, and that'll really set the tone for introducing the Rap Matrix. So with that, what I'd like to do is kind of go back to that demo. And what I showed years ago, really quickly, is if I have a hood like this, what do I like to separate the hood into? Actually, let's take it off for just a quick second. Is if we take the vinyl off the hood, right, just for a second. So what I like to do is separate the hood into what? 4 sections. So if I break anything I'm wrapping, whether it's a fender, a bumper, a door handle, or a hood, I always separate it into 4 sections, which I call triangles. And triangles are a great way of making curved surfaces flat for wrapping cars. So Rainer and I will bust it out now. So we're coming here, and Rainer and I are going to go full cowboy right now and take off the liner. I'll pull it towards Rainer here. Cool. And so it's a technique, again, I've been pushing for years and years and years in the workshops is the concept of using triangles, reading the wrinkles. So I'm going to pull the material off just for a second here. So here the material has, no wrinkles, and then I'm going to take the squeegee now, or it has some wrinkles, but I'll lock it in the middle now, and then maybe Rainer, you could pull that side, I'll pull this side. I'm going to pick the vinyl up, and I'm going to break it up into sections. I'll come here, and I'll pull the vinyl, and I'll stretch it up to this side, and I'll hook it, and lock it onto here. Then I come down to here, and Rainer and I will pull down nice and even, and I'll spread the material out and take it to the front. And so Rainer and I have created essentially glass on the main area. So normally then what we would do is we'd start to squeegee, get the material down. What do I see right here? I see the material bunching up. I see tension. How do I get that tension out? Through brute force and through triangles. So I've known for, people see me teach workshops and wrap cars now, where I take the material now and I'm actually going to put a massive amount of energy in the material to stretch it. And by stretching it, and this particular film is nice and soft, by stretching it in the right way, using the triangle shape, I can create glass. Even here at the front, Reiner and I will pull to the side and we'll stretch it to this way, to this way, to this way. And this is an awesome way of creating glass where now Reiner and I can just squeegee and it's on. Looks pretty easy, right? So on the hood, we put it, what we did is we started here and we took the material and we stretched and we're really pulling the material and pulling the material, right? And then on the bumper, what do? Same thing. One person is in the middle and they're pulling and creating the triangles and pulling this way. And we're really putting a lot of energy into the wrapping process, but it's cool because it creates glass, right? Awesome. So this is kind of the basis where this is how I've wrapped for years and years. Does it work? For sure. But is it the best way of wrapping? I don't think anymore. It's one way, but I think there's a better way of wrapping. So that being said, I think we can take it off the hood now.
Yeah, what we can show now.
Okay, actually take a look.
We should realize when we do this, where is the tension?
Yes.
Where is the tension? When we do this, what we do with the triangles, and it works perfect, so but we spread the tension. But on the end, where is the tension when we cut the film? There's pretty no tension in the middle, but there's a lot of tension on the side. We spread it, but the tension is here.
And that's a good point. So right now, okay, we started off, we pulled off the liner, right? And there's no tension in the film, correct? Like 0. And then when we stretch it, how far did we stretch it? I think we stretched it 5 or maybe 10% because we pulled nice and hard to create the glass. But by doing that right now, what is in the film? Right now, if we cut it and we go to heat it right now, I think this material will start to shrink back because we stretched it, what? 5 or 6%. And what does the material do when you stretch it? It likes to shrink, correct? So if Reiner hits it with heat right now, this might start to get fingers. It might start to lift. And if it starts to lift now, it will do what over time? It'll fail. And then your customers will call and say you suck. And you don't want your customers to call and say you suck, all right? But that's because you're leaving tension on the car, all right? One thing I've learned, and I've been wrapping for 26 years. How long have you been wrapping?
20.
Reiner, 20 years. But also I live a normal life. How many of you love tension in your life? No one. How many of you love tension in your body or tension in your relationships or tension with anything? Over time, it doesn't work. So when you're wrapping, the goal is to not leave any tension on the car. So that's one. But what's interesting is, and this is where we start to get into zero stretch and we get into the matrix, is all those years I thought when we pull off the liner, we're starting off at 0. And then we stretch it to 5%. But then Reiner showed me a technique probably in the spring, where we were talking about the properties of the material, talking about stretch, talking about overstretching, recessed areas, corners. And then Reiner showed me something that was really interesting, is the unique properties of the material, and that we're actually not starting off at 0, we're starting off with a lot of tension. And the goal is to actually start off at true 0, and that's what we want to do a demo now. So what I think is, if you're cool, I'm going to come over to this table, and we'll get some samples. Reiner, you want to grab this piece here? So, how many of you know the difference between cast and calendar film? Cast and calendar. Calendar film starts off as what? A solid. And it's stretched out into a sheet. So what does calendar film like to do over time? Shrink back. So, interesting. So we know that. So this is why calendar film is generally used for what? Walls, flat areas. Cast film starts as what? A liquid. Does cast film shrink? Ah, interesting. Wow. So all those years, I wrap a wall and I take off, okay, this wall, I take it off the liner, it's calendar film, and because it's calendar film, it shrinks a little bit, but that's why I'm not going to wrap it on a car. Cast film doesn't shrink at all, correct? Interesting. So that being said, just setting a tone. This is zero stretch that I'm talking about now. So Reiner and I pulled the material off the liner. This is calendar film, this is an Esotec. This is AB Dennison, this is cast film, all right? And this is Metamark. So we pulled it off the liner, and is there zero tension in this? That's what you think. But now watch. So Reiner's going to heat it now, and he's going to start in the middle. He's going to start on the panel now, and he's going to heat it a lot. So what I want you to pay attention to now is this. Is all those years that you pulled the film off the liner and you thought you were starting at 0, you weren't. you were starting with calendar film, you were starting at 5, maybe 10%, sometimes 18% overstretched. And then you stretch it on a car, and what are you doing? You're going way past the boundaries and you didn't know it. So if you look at the material now, okay, and Esotec is a great material. It's mostly calendar film, has a little bit of cast in it, but look how much this shrank right now. So have you been starting at a 0 or have you been starting too far out? So every time you thought you weren't overstretching, you actually were, because this is true 0. So what 0 stretch is understanding that you aren't starting at true 0, you actually need to recalibrate the film oftentimes to true 0 before you start, which I'll explain in a little bit. This is cast film from Avery Dennison. Reiner's adding a lot of heat to it. By adding a lot of heat to it, what does it do? It shrinks. So even cast film, which we've always been told over the years, cast film never shrinks, cast film actually shrinks a lot. We have a video coming out on the Rap Institute next week where we did 16 brands, and every brand shrank. Some brands shrank 18%. Some brands shrank 3%. Avery shrank 2%. Is that good or bad? It's great if you understand it. Interesting. So when I stretched the hood right there, I stretched it 5%. Or did I? No, I stretched it maybe 8%, 9%, because what? We didn't shrink it before we wrapped it. So therefore, when I got it to the edge, I thought, oh, I'm only at 5%, but I'm actually maybe at 8. Do you understand? So we're starting to get that juice. You're starting to understand the true properties of the material, because right now, Reiner's working with a calendar film. This is Metamark. So by taking the heat right now, we're shrinking the film. When I wrapped the hood right there, did Reiner and I use heat at all? No, we used what? Muscles and triangles. And it spread the material out, we got glass. And that's good, but what were we leaving on the edge? Tension, and that's not good. So right now, Reiner shrank the material back, and these are big pieces. How long did it take him to shrink the material back? Not very long. So imagine, I want to wrap a door handle. What I used to do back in the day before I wrapped a door handle is this. I used to come here, and I would take my piece for a door handle. Like the demo I did years ago on 2016 in Amsterdam, is what I did is I showed cold pre-stretch. How many of you know my cold pre-stretch technique? It's awesome. So what I did is I did this. I took the material off the liner, and I hooked it on the door handle, and I stretched it back, right? And it was good. And I said, I only stretched the material 8%. But I didn't. I stretched it 11% because I know this particular material shrinks 3%, and that's true 0. So what I do now before I wrap a door handle, all I do is this, and Reiner can show, is I get the piece that I want for the door handle, and all I do is this. I recalibrate the film back to 0, then I wrap the door handle. So this is basic 0 stretch. I'm getting back to true 0, so when I stretch the door handle now, you can see it in the material. The material is just floppy dead. This is true 0. So now when I start off on a mirror and a door handle, it feels totally different because I'm actually starting at the right point. Does that make sense? Okay? So this is basic stuff. So on 0 stretch now, if Reiner and I did this hood again, how would we do it? Totally different. All right? Does it make sense? So 0 stretch basically is you have to understand, if you can, shrink the material ahead of time, then you wrap. But is that easy to do on bumpers, on hoods? No. But then you apply the wrap matrix. So the Reiner's going to talk about the wrap matrix now, because now what you have to understand is we're not going to wrap 2D anymore. We're going to wrap 3D. And what's going to be doing all the work? The material. The more shrink that's in the material, that's actually good. Why? Because now the material is going to shrink into the car if you have the right logic. And Reiner's going to talk about the logic. Do you understand? So that's why I call it the matrix. The blue pill, or the white, or the blue pill, or the red pill. The blue squeegee or the red squeegee. Because once you understand now, all those years I was doing this in the demos, I was pulling, I was doing this, it was crazy. Now, all that energy that I was putting into the vinyl was already in the vinyl. Does that make sense? Like I was sitting on a gold mine the whole time, but I didn't know it. And that's the magic, and that's what we want to show you now. So I'm going to turn it over to Reiner, and Reiner has 3 rules for the wrap matrix. Is that cool? I'm going to give you my pen.
So, thank you, sir.
Do you want to take this off or leave it on?
We take it off. Yeah.
Okay.
We put a new one on. If Marcos can come over, and I want to separate it in 2, or we can do it.
I'll get it set up. Where you go?
Yeah, completely. Wow. we do this the first time, so it looks not really. So, okay. And right now I want to separate the two things. So if you get the logic from the triangles, what we do with triangles, so we spread the tension. What is pretty cool, because we have lowered the energy on every point, and it works really great. And I would just show two different things here, and tuck it in the middle, and you see actually the difference of one and the other side. And when we talk about metrics, we talk about logic. We only want to do the things what are logic or what makes sense. It would be easier if we only do the things what make sense. And the first thing is, when we see this here, before we lock it in, we pull it here, we go around, and we actually spread this area here. Let's do it quickly again. So we go around here, cool, cool. So on the end, we squeegee the main area here. I only go fast. So, and then when we squeegee the main area, we go around here on this corner, and then we spread it in triangles, or we use heat for this. And it's nice to use heat. Vinyl likes heat, fine. So we heat this up. Okay, and then we spread it to the outside. Works. You can do it this way, or we can wrap a hood like this. It's not wrong. And nothing is wrong if it works, okay? But the main thing is if it makes sense. Because right now, think about it, where is the tensioner? Only on the corner here, only on the side. Whereas absolutely no tension in the middle, okay? The metrics will change in this way, that you need to understand that we will do in the future, hopefully, a different thing. This is putting vinyl on the car. Who puts vinyl on the car right now? You put vinyl on the car, or? Okay. Now think in a different way. You're not anymore, you're retired, yeah, he plays golf, okay. But what we want to do, we don't want to put vinyl on the car, we want to put the car in the vinyl. Okay, if this makes sense. So if we have this logic a little bit in, it will change everything. So let's go to this side.
You can draw on that to do the three.
Yeah. So the first rule, I have a few rules. I only have 3 rules, and you can hold it in your mind, hopefully. If you can hold three things in your mind, ask your guy left and right and write it down, or watch the show later. So the first rule. So I cannot really draw nice. Hopefully you can recognize what this means. What is this? Okay, I write 2 things on it, so now you know it. Louis Vuitton.
Oh, yes.
Okay, now you know it. Okay. So this is the first rule. Just I always try to have stories in the head that you have an easy hook to remind the things what I tell. So the Louis Vuitton rule is we only want to make more out of the things what we have to less, or make the sense? Only what we have to less, we want to make more. If we want to, or if we have some material too much, we don't want to make more out of this what we have too much. Or make it sense? Yeah. So I need a response from you. Yeah.
We've always heard more is less, less is more. Well, very much the case when it comes to the wrap matrix. So that's what you want to think about, okay? What sections need more material, what sections need less material, and then use that in combination with the zero stretch logic. And that's what Reiner's going to show now, but it all has to do with shapes of the wrinkles.
So, first, if we look now on this hood here, where we have too much material, where the wrinkles are, or? Am I right? So, okay, why? We just stretch the material, make the material longer, that we even have too much material. So the wrinkles say, okay, this is too much material. Why we make more out of this what we have too much? Makes not really sense, or? That's the first thing.
Do you guys understand? So basically, back in the day, I used to use triangles. So it's a very 2D way of wrapping. So I say, look, the material creates a triangle shape, so you spread the material out. But the tension doesn't magically disappear, it just disperses out on a 3D object. Interesting. So now you have to change your logic because we're wrapping 3D now. You don't do a triangle, you do a pyramid. And that's the 3D logic of wrapping. So Reiner's going to show that now.
So the next rule is, so the first you need to understand, you never want to make more out of this what we have too much. So what you want to stretch then is this area here. Would it make sense? Look, curious, huh? So when we stretch this area, then we get the car in the vinyl. Okay?
Here.
This is the vinyl over the car. Here we get the car in the vinyl. So we want to make more out of this what we have to less. So the next rule is the carpet rule. Also pretty easy. I always tell it, so if you have a carpet, and I say it again, I cannot draw really nice, but hopefully it stays in your mind.
It's not shag carpet, it's just like normal, flat, just nap carpet. We're good.
So if you have a carpet laying on the floor, okay, and you have a wrinkle like this in the carpet, okay, in which direction you should pull the wrinkle out? This is logical, makes sense. Okay, what? Just a question. What we do here? We have wrinkles in this direction, and we try to pull the wrinkles out in this direction. Makes it sense? Not really. We can do it because we're human, we do stupid things. Okay? So this is the second, the carpet. And the third rule is pretty easy. So, and this is fire, okay? So if you're out in the woods and it's cold, you only want to make a small fire for you. You don't want to burn the whole woods down, or? Makes no sense. So we only apply heat on the areas what we want to stretch. So this means we heat this up, not this. And this one, we use zero stretch on the end, so we heat it and let it sit down. We melt it over the surface.
So if you guys, a lot of you I can see are rappers, so you know how to read wrinkles. As I always talk about speaking wrinkle right now. So right now you have the wrinkles. And if you're used to wrapping 2D and using triangles right now, with those wrinkles right now, you're taught to spread them out. And if you spread them out, you're still dispersing the tension, and it helps, but you're still having tension. So Reiner's going to change the shape of the wrinkle because right now, think of the carpet. That carpet is a diamond, it's a pyramid shape. That's a pyramid. So Reiner needs to create pyramids now with the material. But how he does that is he's going to incorporate zero stretch so the pyramids shrink into the car. He's bringing the car into the vinyl. So watch.
Okay, now with this thing I heat this up, and Marcus will help me now. So he really pull on the side. And I only heat up the middle area here, not the sides, because then I have like a cage, okay? But it's not, okay, stretch the sides, only the middle.
So you want to keep the tension on the outside cold, and you only want to heat the middle, so the middle is the only thing that's stretching and the outside frames. Does that make sense? Okay. And Marcos is actually pulling really hard, but he's not spreading the material out. He's actually trying to keep the material pulling. He's pulling to his chest.
And go more down, more.
And notice that they're wrapping with what? Squares. So Marcos is actually pulling quite hard. But the squares are staying square because what is the material doing while Reiner heats? It's actually shrinking while they stretch. So it stays at zero, which is why we call it zero stretch. Cool.
So what you see here, this hood is a little bit difficult because it's not only one shape going down and wrinkles in the front. So we had wrinkles before here. So this means carpet, okay, go in this direction. But we also have wrinkles going in this direction. So what Marcus is now doing, I heat the same up, but now he's pulling a little bit up so that the wrinkles that are here, we use a rule from the carpet.
So I always used to joke like you're making a bed, so like housekeepers are always the best wrappers because they know how to make beds. Now the best wrappers are carpet guys. They know how to get those wrinkles out of carpet. Because what is Reiner doing is he's shifting the tension out to the side. And what he's doing is he's keeping the tension of the material at zero.
So I'm a pretty lazy guy, I would say. I don't like post-heat. Who likes post-heat? Who likes to post-heat? You really like post-heating?
For those of you who don't know what post-heating is, when you wrap a car, if you stretch the material at all, you should theoretically come back and heat the material on the car to a specified temperature, which takes what? Time. And as, you know, if you have to do it, you have to do it, but with this technique, you don't.
So in this area, we can use it, we can wrap around here, but what we do, we cut 1 centimeter longer around, 1/4 inch, put it behind, heat it, post it, that the material don't post back. Okay, but what's about here? So how much tension is right now on this area? How much? Actually no tension. So when I cut the material here, go around, and I cut it and I heat it up, what happens? Nothing. Okay, if I go around here on this, it even goes back because we put the tension the right way in. You see this? The material shrinks back because we use a zero stretch. Okay, heat this up, and what happens? No wrinkles, nothing. The material wraps the hood now by itself. And you should think about it. The material is not responsible, or the glue is not responsible to stay, that the material stays. You're responsible to put it in the right tension, that it stays.
Yes, exactly. So basically, do you guys are starting to understand? So starting to understand on the hood where you want to start thinking more in pyramids as opposed to triangles, because you're using the fact that the material shrinks to start to, you're using a different technique, a different approach, because it's now 3D. But on a hood, it's interesting. It's cool, but what is one of the hardest places to wrap on a car? The bumper. Interesting. Bumpers suck. You know what I'm saying? Everyone hates bumpers because the material does what? You're trying to stretch it, you're trying to glass it out, you're trying to get those wrinkles out, but bumpers have a high failure point, which is the problem. But before we get there, do you want to show anything else there, or are you good?
I think I'm good on this.
Okay.
You mind this stuff, and then we jump to the bumper. It's really interesting. I mean the squares, when we put out, and you can try it by yourself. So we have squares here. We print squares on the material. So, and if I cut out now this such a square, and I put it on every area around here, you see how the tension is, how it falls around, and how symmetrical, even I go on this side here, what's critical, how symmetrical the things are.
So if you understand, like, okay, when I did the triangles, even that video I did in 2016, how much heat did I use when I stretched the material? None, because I used what? Triangles. And this particular film is Avery Dennison, for example. And Avery Dennison is super soft, so it's easy to stretch. I don't have to use a lot of heat. It's pretty cool. That's why, you know, it's fun. But even then, I didn't, for the longest time, I was like, I always was really proud. I didn't use a lot of heat. Didn't use a lot of heat because I wasn't overstretching the film. But now it's interesting. Now I use a lot of heat, but in a totally different way, and it really comes into play on the bumper. So actually, I'm going to get Marcos to help a little bit. Take this off, and they're going to wrap this bumper. And on the Wrap Institute, we had 2 promo videos kind of setting up this debut at the show. And the idea was Reiner and I wrapped a bumper with the same material with the squares, and we wrapped the whole bumper, and on every single edge was squares. We wrapped a fender, and on every single edge, almost the entire fender, was squares. And this is where you're going to see the logic now of how Marcos and Reiner wrap with zero stretch. Again, this particular material that we're putting on right now, this is a cast film. And we're going to just sit the material here on the bumper, and you can read the wrinkles. And the wrinkles, hopefully, you'll start to understand the zero stretch in a different language through the process. So I don't know if Reiner, you want to get on, and Marcos?
Yeah.
So right now, you can see all the tension build up. All right. So when we pulled off the liner, is this material at zero? No. This material wants to do what now? Shrink. And what Reiner's going to do now is he's going to hold the material out. And then what Marcos is going to do now is instead of pull with triangles right now, Marcos is literally pulling this way. So if Marcos pulls straight without triangles, when Reiner heats, the material shrinks. And then once they're done, on the corners, they're going to pick the material up. And instead of it shrinking in the form of a triangle, it's going to shrink in the form of what? A pyramid. So as Reiner's heating right now, Marcos is stretching, but he's not stretching because what? The material is doing what? Shrinking. So this material is shrinking as they work it around. So look at Reiner's top hand. How hard is Reiner pulling right now? He's just doing this. He's just keeping it off the surface. Reiner's putting no tension on the film, and their focal point right now was right along the body line. Can you guys see it? What happened? How are the squares? They're good. And Reiner's going to pick the material up now and keep it off the surface right now. and then he's going to set it up, and he's not going to glass it out too much. He's just getting everything prepped. And now can we see on the corner, if you guys can see now, when they pick it up now and they heat it, they don't stretch in this way now, they stretch down. Because if you stretch down, that creates the pyramid. So the material's now shrinking, the car is coming into the material. Does that make sense? So it's a totally different way of wrapping. So now the squares stay square even on the bottom. Check this out. So now, Reiner, before you heat for a second. So what Reiner's doing now is when he heats now, because they're pulling straight up, and when they go to the heat, the material now shrinks into the car. They're pulling the car into the vinyl. Does that make sense? So what is doing 100% of the work right now? The vinyl. They're not doing anything. Because there's so much built up energy in the vinyl's shrinking into the car. So what we're proposing with this technique now is look at Marcos. Marcos is kind of holding up. Reiner's heating it. And again, how much heat is Reiner applying? A lot. An immense amount of heat. But what is that heat doing? Is it stretching or is it shrinking? It's now shrinking the material into the car. So as they pull it around now, how quickly are they glassing the material out? Super quick. And Marcos is pulling high and the material is shrinking in. But as an installer now, when you go to touch the vinyl, once it's on the car, the vinyl has no tension because what? Now it's at true zero. So now you can start taking the material where? Farther into the car. And does it make sense? Do you guys start to understand? Once I've started getting this, all of a sudden I'm wrapping bumpers, and you'll see it next week on the Wrap Institute. I wrapped this Mercedes bumper that was in at a 90-degree angle and came back out and is in a funky 3D turn. And I totally wrapped it in one piece that I never could do before. Why? It's because the material was shrinking into the car. It's pretty nuts. But not because I stretched it to shrink it. The shrink was already there. Does that make sense? I didn't have to. How many people stretch the material so it can shrink? We all do. But now you don't have to because what? The material can already shrink by itself. So now I propose this. What material shrinks the most? Calendar or cast? Calendar film. What we've always been taught? That cast film is better for wrapping cars, correct? But now, with zero stretch, the more material naturally shrinks, the deeper you can take it. Does that make sense? So now that's the Matrix. In the Matrix, like Neo, the character, all of a sudden he's like, I can't jump off that building. But once he understands the Matrix, what can he do? He can jump off the building. We've all been taught calendar is not good for cars. But now that you understand zero stretch, you might think, oh my God, calendar film, like that material is horrible. That action material is great. Is it going to flip the way you wrap? Because the more energy is in the film, the easier it is to wrap. Look how quickly and easily they relax the material, and how hard did it look like they worked? Was Reiner really stretching the material? No, because the material was stretching into the car. They weren't pulling hard, they were shrinking hard. So that's why, in a way, we're super glad that like Weldy is the sponsor in our booth right now, because Weldy has a great heat gun that stays hot, warm, and you can't get burned. But can you check it out? How many squares do we have? A lot. How many rectangles do we have? Not a lot. And if we do have rectangles, Reiner, where are the rectangles?
The rectangle is now just out there. You have the same length here, and we push the middle. Now we actually, and I have a video with Patrick Weiser is here. So we drive with the car in vinyl.
Yes.
And we show this, how to go in. So, and right now we have the tension where we want to have it. We float the material in. We let it sit. We have no tension on the outside. We have only tension a little bit in the inside, and the rest makes the material by itself, only with the heat.
Yes.
So the material works for us, and we need to be smart enough that we work with the material. So we want to work with the material, not that we say, okay, we apply it, we stretch it over. Think about what the material can do for you, and then you do it with the material.
So it's a different logic, and I hope do you guys start to understand where we're going with this? It's interesting. It's a different way of wrapping, of relaxing. So on a basic level, before you wrap that next door handle and mirror, like for example, the Wrap UEZ. How many people use the Wrap UEZ? Like what I do with the Wrap UEZ, instead of stretching it across the Wrap UEZ, I let the material sag before I even do it. And what do? Is I heat the material, and what does that do? It shrinks back flat, and then I wrap. Does it make sense? So I recalibrate the film to zero before I put it on the car. That's easy with small pieces. But then if you do it with bigger pieces, you plug in Reiner's logic now, because now it's the wrap matrix that only works through what? Zero stretch. So you can't get to matrix unless you're doing zero stretch, because if you're not shrinking while you're doing this, it doesn't work. Because you have to change your dimension. You're not wrapping 2D anymore, you're wrapping 3D. It's interesting. So in a way, in 2016, I wrapped the hood. I talked about cold pre-stretch. I talked about triangles. And I'm still doing that, but now I'm doing it in the third dimension, which is what? Pyramids. It's the wrap matrix. So this is why it's very cool and very fitting that I'm here doing this demo with Reiner in Amsterdam 2021. And the video in 2016 has like 6 million views, which is cool. And it was a great way of wrapping in 2016, but now it's the future. And the future is, for me, the wrap matrix, which is really cool. It's awesome stuff. So again, this is our demo in the Wrap Institute booth, in the Wrap Masters booth, which is awesome. If you're interested in talking more about the techniques and stuff like that, please visit our booth throughout the show. The Wrap Institute, we have great workshops in Munich if you're interested in taking that. And also we have obviously the Wrap Institute for all the videos that are coming out this week. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Reiner, thank you for being part of this. And Ole, thank you.
Thank you, Reiner. Thank you, Justin. Can you guys give them a huge applause?
Okay.
It's needed. Thank you for a beautiful demo. It's always interesting to see something we have done in so many years in a new perspective.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you again. Beautiful.
Awesome.
We can't wait to see another one on Thursday, as I remember.
On Thursday, we'll be talking about recessed areas.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a new technique too?
There is actually very technique, and it comes from France.
From France, yeah. So, very good. Thank you so much, and we will meet up again tomorrow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With some more competition, way more popcorn.
I hope so. Yeah.
At the booth, and of course you can stop by the Wrap Institute and get. I think how many videos are there now?
2,300.
Only 2,300.
Only 2,300.
When can we get to 2,500 in the year?
Well, we come out 5 a week, so 250 a day. You do the math. So we'll be there by next year for sure.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Remember to sign up for the Wrap Institute.
Please, yeah, that'd be great.
And enjoy the rest of the day of the show. And all competitors tonight, one beer at a time.
It could be a beer this
yeah,
week.
you're in Amsterdam. Enjoy it.
Yes.
But be ready tomorrow. Thank you again for a beautiful day.
Thank you, Ole. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Cheers.
Thank you.